The interrogation room smelled like burnt circuits and desperation. I'd been stationed on Outpost Theta for 3 rotations now, and I thought I'd seen every variation of human peculiarity the universe had to offer. I was wrong. The woman sitting across from me didn't look particularly dangerous. Medium height, brown hair pulled back in what humans called a ponytail, wearing a standard colony worker's jumpsuit that had seen better days. Her name was Maya Torres, according to the datapad, and she'd been pulled off a transport vessel 2 hours ago for carrying unauthorized navigation equipment. What made this interesting? The equipment in question was her own arm. "So," I said, adjusting my translator implant because sometimes these things picked up human sarcasm wrong. "You want to tell me why you've got 17 sets of spatial coordinates carved into your forearm?" Maya looked at me with those unsettling human eyes, the kind that seemed to calculate about 6 different escape routes while appearing completely relaxed. She smiled. Actually, smiled. "Those aren't marks," she said calmly. "They're coordinates." I blinked all 3 of my eyes in sequence. "Yes, that's what I just said." "No." She leaned forward, and I noticed the scars ran up past her elbow, disappearing under the sleeve. "You said carved, like they're decorative. They're not, they're functional." My secondary brain started processing threat assessments, while my primary brain tried to understand human logic, which, let me tell you, is like trying to understand why they put pineapple on pizza. Some things just don't make sense. "Explain," I said, keeping my voice level. My species, the Karathi, prided ourselves on logical thinking. Humans prided themselves on surviving situations that should have killed them through sheer stubborn refusal to die. We didn't always see eye to eye. Maya held up her arm, rotating it slowly. The scars were precise, I'd give her that. Numbers and symbols etched in what looked like deliberate patterns, not the work of torture or accident. This was intentional. "Started when I was 19, she began, and I noticed her smile had vanished. Good. Maybe we were getting somewhere. "I was on a survey ship called the Meridian's Edge, mining expedition to the Kessler Belt. You know it?" I nodded. Everyone knew the Kessler Belt. Asteroid field roughly 3 light years from here, rich in platinum and other heavy metals. Also known for spatial anomalies that made navigation computers throw tantrums. "Our nav system got fried by a magnetic storm," Maya continued. "All backups, all redundancies, everything. We were drifting blind in a field of rocks, moving at velocities that would turn us into paste if we hit one wrong." "So you carved coordinates into your arm?" I couldn't keep the skepticism out of my voice. "No," she said, and now there was something sharp in her tone. "I memorized them. All of them. Every safe route through that field that our computer had, mapped before it died. Then I realized something." She paused. Humans loved dramatic pauses. It was infuriating. "What?" I asked, playing along. "Memory fails, especially under stress. Especially when you haven't eaten in 4 days, and your oxygen is running low, and your crewmates are taking bets on who's going to suffocate first." Her finger traced one of the scars. "So I made them permanent. Used a heated plasma cutter on low setting. Hurt like hell, by the way. I felt my spine ridges rise, an involuntary sign of respect." "You guided the ship out manually?" "Through 78 hours of continuous course corrections, yes." She said it like it was no big deal, like she hadn't essentially turned herself into a living navigation chart while probably dealing with pain that would have sent most species into shock. This was the thing about humans. They did stuff like this, and then acted like it was just another Tuesday. "And the other coordinates?" I gestured at her arm, where more scars disappeared under fabric. Different situations, different ships, different disasters. She pulled up her sleeve, revealing more. They covered her arm like a map written in scar tissue. This one's from the Cascade Station incident, the one where the reactor core melted down and we had to evacuate through unmapped space because the main routes were contaminated. I remember hearing about that, I said slowly. 300 people saved. 0 casualties. The news reports called it a miracle. This one, she pointed to another set, is from when my escape pod's computer got hit by solar radiation. Had to calculate a trajectory to the nearest station manually. How do you even calculate that without a computer? She shrugged. Math, observation, a really good guess. And when I say really good, I mean I landed 3 kilometers from the station's docking bay after 2 days of drift. I looked at her arm again. 17 sets of coordinates. 17 stories. 17 times this woman had probably saved lives, including her own, by being prepared for every possible catastrophe. This is insane, I said. This is survival, she corrected. Your species has redundant organs. You've got 3 hearts, 2 brains, backup everything. Mine? She tapped her chest. 1 heart, 1 brain. Fragile body that breaks if you look at it wrong. So yeah, we adapt. We compensate. We scar ourselves with information because we can't afford not to. My supervisor, Commander Velth, chose that moment to enter the interrogation room. He was old-school Karathi, all 4 arms and perpetual disapproval. He looked at Maya, then at me, then at the datapad displaying her file. "This is the smuggler?" he asked in our language, forgetting his translator was on. "I'm not a smuggler," Maya said in perfect Karathi. Both our head crests rose in surprise. "I'm a navigator. There's a difference." Velth recovered faster than I did. "You speak our language?" 5 languages, actually, she replied, switching back to Universal Standard. Figured if I was going to work on multi-species vessels, I should probably understand what everyone's saying when they think I don't understand. "The unauthorized navigation equipment," Velth said, trying to regain control of the situation. "Is me," Maya finished. "Can't exactly leave my arm at customs, can I?" "The regulations state, the regulations were written before humans joined the Galactic Council," she interrupted, which, let me tell you, nobody interrupted Commander Velth. "They were written for species with biological translators and built-in directional sensors. We don't have those. We improvise." Velth's translator had to recalibrate 3 times just to handle the complexity of her argument. This was going nowhere fast. "How many ships have you guided?" I asked, cutting through the tension. Maya's expression shifted. For a moment, the walls came down. 23. Through situations that would have killed everyone on board if they'd relied solely on computer systems. "And you just happen to have all those coordinates memorized and marked?" "I have 47 sets, actually," she said quietly. "These are just the ones visible. The rest—" She gestured vaguely at her torso, her legs. 47. 47 disaster scenarios where human stubbornness and willingness to literally scar themselves saved lives. I felt something like awe, which was not an emotion I experienced often. "Why not just use external devices?" Velth asked. "Data storage is cheap. Data storage can be hacked, can be lost, can be destroyed." Maya's voice had gone flat. "My arm can't be hacked, can't be misplaced, can't be taken away. This," she held up her scarred forearm, "this is mine. This is permanent. This is reliable." There was a story there, something in the way she said it, the way her jaw tightened. But before I could ask, alarms started blaring. Red lights flooded the interrogation room. My datapad exploded with alerts. Velt was already moving toward the door. "What's happening?" Maya asked, on her feet instantly. I checked the pad. Collision alert. Transport vessel on approach vector. Navigation system failure. "How many on board?" 412, I read, my blood going cold. Well, colder. It's always pretty cold. "Course correction in 2 minutes, or they hit the station's solar array. Can your traffic control guide them in?" I looked at the data. Our system's trying. Their computers not responding. Manual overrides not working. Maya was already at the door. "Let me see your navigation bay." "You're a detainee," Velth said. "And those are 412 lives," she shot back. "You want to debate regulations, or you want to save them?" Velth and I exchanged a look. He nodded. We ran. The navigation bay was chaos. Controllers at every station, voices overlapping, everyone trying to solve an impossible problem. The transport vessel, a big industrial hauler called the Prosperity, Dawn, was tumbling. Slow rotation, engines firing randomly. Clearly no one at the helm had control. "Status!" Velth barked. "No response to hails," one controller said. "Computer virus. It's locked them out of all systems." "How long until impact?" 90 seconds. Maya pushed past everyone to the main display. Her eyes scanned the data, the trajectory predictions, the station schematics. I watched her mouth move, counting silently. "What's the station's position?" she asked. A controller rattled off numbers. Maya's hand went to her forearm, fingers tracing one of the scars. "That's not going to help," I said. "Those are your old routes." "No," she replied, still calculating. "But the math is the same. Distance, velocity, gravitational pull." Her finger stopped on a particular scar. This one. The Cascade Station evacuation. Similar mass, similar trajectory problem. "You're going to use ancient coordinates to save a ship right now?" She looked at me, and for the first time I saw something fierce in those human eyes. "I'm going to use the principles that got me through 17 impossible situations to solve an 18th. Now shut up and get me a direct comm link to that ship." 60 seconds. The comm line crackled open. "This is Outpost Theta," Maya said. "Prosperity Dawn, if you can hear me, I'm going to guide you in. Forget your computer. Forget your instruments. Just listen to my voice and do exactly what I say." Silence. 45 seconds. "Fire your port thrusters for 3 seconds, now." Nothing happened. The ship kept tumbling toward disaster. "They can't hear her," someone muttered. Then, a small burst of light from the vessel's port side. The rotation slowed, just slightly. "Good," Maya said, her voice steady as steel. "Now wait. Fire starboard thrusters, 2-second burst." Another flash. The ship's rotation stopped. 30 seconds. "You're still coming in too fast. I need a 5-second burn on your main engines. Rear facing." This time the response was immediate. The ship's velocity decreased. "Distance to solar array?" Maya asked. 20 kilometers and closing." "Not close enough for comfort, but we'll take it," she muttered. Her finger traced another scar. "Prosperity Dawn, listen carefully. I need you to execute a 3-point maneuver. First, pitch up 15 degrees, then roll 40 degrees port, then full reverse thrust for 8 seconds. "That's going to put them into a spin," a controller protested. "No," Maya said. "It's going to use their momentum to slingshot them around the array into a stable orbit. Trust me." 15 seconds. The ship pitched, rolled. The main engines flared to life. 10 seconds. We watched the trajectory line on the screen. Bend, curve, arc around the solar array with maybe 200 meters to spare. 5 seconds. The Prosperity Dawn glided into a stable orbit around the station. Engines quiet. Crisis averted. The navigation bay erupted in relieved chaos. Controllers were cheering, hugging, celebrating. Maya just stood there, hand still on her forearm, breathing like she'd run a marathon. Velth approached her slowly. "How did you know that would work?" "I didn't," she admitted. "But the alternative was watching 400 people die, so—" She shrugged. Calculated risk. Better than guaranteed catastrophe. I looked at her arm, at those scars that weren't just marks. They were lessons. Battle scars from fights against entropy and disaster. Each one a story of survival. A piece of knowledge literally written into her flesh. "The unauthorized equipment charge," Velth said formally. "Commander," I interrupted. Not protocol, but I didn't care. With respect, that equipment just saved 400 lives. He studied Maya for a long moment. Then he did something I'd never seen him do. He smiled. "Charges dismissed," he said. "On one condition." "What's that?" Maya asked warily. "You teach our navigators how you think, how you calculate, how you solve problems when everything's failing." He gestured at the bay full of controllers who'd just watched one human with scars do what their advanced systems couldn't. "Because apparently, we've been doing this wrong." Maya grinned. "Deal. But fair warning, the first lesson involves a lot of math and a very uncomfortable discussion about exactly how much pain you can endure for the sake of knowledge." "Humans," I muttered. "Yeah," she said cheerfully. "We're terrible, but we're also really hard to kill, and sometimes that makes all the difference." Later, after Maya had been officially released and offered a consulting position that she actually accepted, I found her in the observation deck. She was looking out at the stars, hand unconsciously rubbing her scarred arm. "You okay?" I asked. "Always am," she replied. "Eventually. Can I ask you something?" "Shoot." "Why do it? Why put yourself through that? The pain, the scars, all of it?" She was quiet for a moment. "Because someone has to remember. Someone has to learn. Someone has to be ready for when everything goes wrong." She turned to look at me. "Your species has biological redundancy. Mine has institutional memory. We pass down knowledge. We learn from mistakes. We literally mark ourselves with lessons so we never forget." "That's very philosophical." "That's very human," she corrected. "We're not the strongest, or the fastest, or the smartest. But we're the ones who survive because we refuse to forget what almost killed us." She held up her arm. "These coordinates, they're not just navigation data. They're proof that we made it through. They're promises that next time we'll be ready." I looked at her scars with new understanding. They weren't marks of damage. They were marks of defiance. A biological middle finger to every disaster that tried to kill humans and failed. 18 now," I said. "What?" "Your count. You said 17 before. The Prosperity Dawn makes 18. Maya smiled. "Guess I'll need to find some space for new coordinates." "You're actually going to cut yourself again?" "Once the paperwork's done and I'm officially off duty? Absolutely." She said it like it was the most natural thing in the world. This one earned a spot. 400 lives? Yeah, that's worth remembering. Humans. Insane, brilliant, terrifying, wonderful humans. They turned their bodies into libraries and their scars into stories. They survived impossible situations through sheer stubborn calculation and willingness to hurt themselves for the sake of knowledge. And somehow, against all logic and probability, it worked. 3 weeks after the Prosperity Dawn incident, I found myself in a situation I never expected. I was sitting in a human bar called the Wayward Comet, drinking something blue that tasted like regret and battery acid, listening to Maya explain why she'd turned down a promotion to head navigator. "Too much paperwork," she said, nursing her own drink, something amber that smelled like it could strip paint. "Not enough actual flying. You saved 400 lives, and you don't want the recognition?" She laughed. Actually laughed. "Recognition doesn't keep ships in the air. Skills do. Experience does. Muscle memory and scars do." Before I could respond, my comm unit buzzed. "Emergency frequency." I answered immediately. "Lieutenant Krax?" It was Commander Velth, and he sounded stressed. That was bad. Velth never sounded stressed. "We have a situation. How fast can you get to Docking Bay 7? 10 minutes. What's happening?" "Distress call. Science vessel. The Quantum Fold. They were studying spatial rifts in the Vexar sector, and something went wrong. Really wrong. Their entire crew is unconscious except for one person, and their ship is caught in a degrading orbit around a collapsing star." My spine ridges flattened. "How long do they have?" 4 hours. Maybe. The gravitational pull is increasing exponentially." He paused. "Is Torres with you?" I looked at Maya, who was already standing, her drink forgotten. Humans had excellent hearing. "Yes, sir." "Bring her. We need every advantage we can get." The docking bay was organized chaos. Emergency response teams loading equipment, medical personnel prepping for casualties, engineers running diagnostics on the rescue vessel. A sleek ship called the Vertex Runner sat in the center of it all, engines already warming up. Velth met us at the loading ramp. "Situation's worse than we thought. The Quantum Fold was experimenting with artificial rift generation. They succeeded. Then the rift destabilized and released an energy pulse that knocked out everyone on board except their captain. He's awake, but suffering from radiation exposure. Delirious. Can't operate the controls." "What about remote piloting?" I asked. "The rift's electromagnetic signature is scrambling all signals. We can receive telemetry, but we can't send commands. Someone has to go there manually and fly that ship out." "Through a spatial rift, near a collapsing star," Maya said flatly, "with a crew of unconscious people and a dying captain." "Yes." "And you want me on the rescue team because—" Velth pulled up a holographic display. The Quantum Fold's trajectory was a nightmare. Unstable orbit, spatial anomalies everywhere, gravitational forces that would tear most ships apart. Because every simulator we've run says it's impossible. The rescue window is too narrow. The variables are too unpredictable. Standard navigation protocols fail every single time. "But you think improvisation might work," Maya finished. "I think human stubbornness might work," Velth corrected. "Your species has a talent for surviving things our computers say are impossible." Maya studied the display for a long moment. Her hand went to her forearm, fingers tracing scars in what I'd learned was her thinking pattern. "I'll need full access to your navigation systems. No restrictions, no safety protocols limiting what I can input. Done. And I want Krex with me. Someone who understands Korathi technology but won't panic when I start breaking your precious rules. Hey, I protested weakly. You're coming, she said. Not a question. A statement. 20 minutes later, we were on the Vertex runner with a pilot named Marcus Webb. A human who flew like physics was a suggestion rather than a law. The rest of the crew consisted of 2 Korathi engineers and a medical officer from a species called the Thylen, who could survive in almost any atmosphere. Good for treating patients in compromised environments. Course laid in, Marcus announced. ETA to intercept. 2 hours, 15 minutes. The journey was tense. Maya spent most of it reviewing the telemetry data, muttering calculations under her breath. I watched her trace those scars again and again, like reading a book written on her own skin. "What are you thinking?" I finally asked. "I'm thinking this is either going to be coordination number 19 or it's going to be the one that finally kills me," she replied cheerfully. 50-50 odds. I've had worse. That's not reassuring. Wasn't meant to be. She pulled up a 3-dimensional map of the target area. Look at this. See how the spatial rift is creating gravitational eddies? Like whirlpools in space. Yes, they're what makes this rescue impossible. Or they're what makes it possible, she countered. If we can time it right, ride the gravitational currents instead of fighting them, we might be able to use the rift's own energy to slingshot both ships out. That's insane. That's physics. Dangerous, unpredictable, probably fatal physics, but still physics. She zoomed in on a section of the map. The quantum fold is here. Orbits decaying. Every 14 minutes, it gets pulled closer to the star. Eventually, the gravity will crush it like a tin can. How many orbits do they have left? 3. Maybe 4 if we're lucky. That gives us roughly 1 hour from arrival to extract them. Marcus whistled from the pilot's seat. 1 hour to dock with a tumbling ship near a spatial rift beside a collapsing star. No pressure. Oh, there's plenty of pressure, Maya said. About 16,000 atmospheres worth at their current altitude. But who's counting? We dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Vexar sector. The view screen lit up with something that made my blood freeze. The collapsing star was an angry red sphere, pulsing with violent energy. Around it, space itself seemed broken. The rift looked like a crack in reality, edges shimmering with colors that shouldn't exist. And there, caught between star and rift, was the quantum fold. Spinning slowly, bleeding atmosphere from a dozen hull breaches, listing toward oblivion. "Mother of stars," one of the engineers whispered. "Status?" Maya asked calmly, like this was just another day. "Reading 7 life signs on the quantum fold," our medical officer reported. 1 weak but conscious. The others are stable but unresponsive. Whatever hit them scrambled their neural patterns. Time until the next orbital decay? 11 minutes. Maya turned to Marcus. "Get us closer. Match their rotation. I need to see their engine configuration." Matching rotation near a spatial rift is a great way to join them in their death spiral, Marcus pointed out. But he was already adjusting course. "Then don't mess it up," Maya suggested helpfully. The Vertex runner moved closer. The gravitational forces buffeted us like ocean waves. Warning alarms sang a chorus of imminent doom. Marcus compensated, adjusted, compensated again. His hands moved across the controls like a musician playing an instrument. "There," Maya said, pointing at the quantum fold's engine array. 2 of their main thrusters are offline. That's why they're spinning, thrust imbalance. "Can we repair them remotely?" I asked. No time, no tools, no way to dock safely in this rotation. She stared at the display, hand on her scarred arm again. But we don't need to repair them. Explain. We use their spin, the rift's gravitational eddies, our own engines. We create a synchronized push-pull maneuver that uses their momentum to break orbit. I ran the calculations in my head. Both my brains, actually. That would require timing precise to the microsecond. One mistake, and we all get pulled into the star. Yes. And you can calculate that timing? Maya pulled up her sleeve further, revealing more scars, coordinates I'd never seen before. This one, she said, indicating a particularly complex pattern. Station rescue near a black hole merger. Similar gravitational dynamics. I survived by using the black hole's spin to catapult the escape pod clear. Same principle here, just scaled up and infinitely more dangerous. Station Omega 7? Our medical officer asked suddenly. I heard about that rescue. 6 survivors pulled from impossible physics. You were one of them? I was the one who figured out the math while the station was literally being torn apart. Around us, Maya said. Carved these coordinates into my leg with a piece of broken metal because our computer was dead and I needed to remember the exact angle and velocity calculations. She said it so matter-of-factly, like self-inflicted wounds for the sake of survival math was completely normal. 5 minutes to orbital decay, Marcus announced. Right, Maya cracked her knuckles. Here's what we're going to do. Marcus, I need you to position us exactly 300 meters above the quantum fold. Mirror their rotation but offset by 42 degrees. Oddly specific. It's the angle where the gravitational forces balance. Trust me, I've done the math. It's literally written on my body. We moved into position. The quantum fold loomed below us, a wounded whale caught in cosmic currents. Through the view screen, I could see atmosphere venting from the breaches, a ghostly tail of frozen gases. Crex, Maya said, I need you to establish a direct comm link to their captain. Audio only. I'm going to guide him through engine restart procedures. He's delirious, radiation sick. Then I'll keep him focused. Pain has a way of cutting through confusion. Again, said like it was normal. Humans. I opened the channel. Static and groaning metal filled the bridge. Then a voice, weak and slurred. This is Captain Ren Halverson of the Quantum Fold. If anyone's receiving this, we're pretty much dead. The rift, it did something. My crew. They're breathing, but they won't wake up. Captain Halverson, Maya's voice cut through clear and commanding. This is Maya Torres on the rescue vessel Vertex Runner. We're here to get you out. But I need you to listen carefully and do exactly what I tell you. Can you do that? Silence. Then, Torres? The navigator? The one with the coordinates? News travels, Maya muttered. Then louder. Yes, that's me. And right now, those coordinates are going to save your life. But first I need to know, can you reach your engine controls? I think so. Everything's spinning. Hard to focus. I know. Radiation exposure affects the inner ear. Makes you nauseous. Makes the world tilt. But you're a captain. You've trained for this. So push through the pain and get to those controls. I heard sounds of movement, grunting, something that might have been vomiting. I'm here, Halverson finally gasped. Good. Now, don't touch anything yet. We're going to do this on my mark. 3 minutes from now, your ship is going to pass through a gravitational eddy. When it does, I need you to fire your functional thrusters at maximum power for exactly 4.3 seconds. Not 4, not 5, 4.3. That's incredibly precise. That's survival. You fire too early or too late. The gravity tears your ship apart. You fire for too long or too short. Same result. 4.3 seconds is the window where physics becomes our friend instead of our enemy. 2 minutes to orbital decay, Marcus warned. Maya's eyes never left the display. Her fingers traced the scars again, following patterns only she could read. Marcus, when I give the signal, I need you to fire our aft thrusters at 70% power, same duration, 4.3 seconds. We're going to push them? We're going to surf a gravity wave together. Their thrust plus our thrust plus the natural motion of the eddy creates a combined force vector that breaks orbit. And if the math is wrong, then we become the galaxy's most spectacular meteor shower. No pressure. You keep saying that, I pointed out. Because it helps. She checked the countdown. 1 minute, 30 seconds. Captain Halverson, I need you ready. Hand on the thruster controls. When I say mark, you fire. Understand? Understood. His voice was stronger now, purpose helping him push through the radiation sickness. 1 minute, Marcus. Position locked? Locked. Everyone else, hold on to something. This is going to get bumpy. The seconds crawled by. I watched the gravitational readings, the orbital calculations, the shrinking window of possibility. Everything had to align perfectly. The ships, the gravity well, the thrust vectors, the timing. 30 seconds. Maya's hand pressed flat against her scarred forearm. I realized she was feeling the patterns, using touch to verify the calculations she'd memorized, using pain written into flesh as a biological computer. 20 seconds. The quantum fold rotated into position. I could see it on the display, the gravitational eddy forming ahead of them like an invisible whirlpool in space. 10 seconds. Come on, Maya whispered. Come on. 5. Time seemed to stretch. I could hear my hearts beating. All three of them, different rhythms, united in anticipation. 4, 3, 2, 1. Mark! Maya shouted. Both ships fired thrusters simultaneously. The Vertex runner shuddered as our engines roared to life. Below us, the quantum fold's remaining thrusters flared bright against the darkness. For a moment, nothing happened. We hung there, two ships bound by coordinated thrust and desperate mathematics. Then, the gravitational eddy caught us. We didn't fly. We were thrown, catapulted, hurled through space by forces that made our engines look like toys. The view screen became a blur of stars and radiation. Alarms screamed. My inner ears told me we were spinning, even though the artificial gravity said we weren't. Hold thrust, Maya commanded. 4.1, 4.2, 4.3. Now! Marcus cut the engines. The sudden silence was deafening. We coasted, tumbled, slowly stabilized. Status? I managed to ask through clenched teeth. We're clear, Marcus reported, voice shaky. Both ships broke orbit. We're on stable trajectories, away from the star and the rift. The quantum fold? Intact. Damaged but intact. Life signs still reading stable. Maya sagged in her seat, exhaling hard. Captain Halverson, you still with us? The comm crackled. Still here, somehow. That was the craziest thing I've ever experienced, and I once flew through a supernova's shockwave. Yeah, well, congratulations. You just became coordinate number 19. Maya was already pulling out a small cutting tool from her kit. Standard issue for making repairs. She flicked it on, adjusted the heat setting. What are you doing? I asked, though I already knew. Making it permanent. She pressed the heated tip against her forearm, below the existing scars. Her jaw clenched, but her hand stayed steady. The smell of burning skin filled the small bridge. "You're doing this right now?" Marcus asked incredulously. "Best time to do it," Maya said through gritted teeth. While the adrenaline's still high and the memories fresh, the pain helps lock it in. She worked methodically, carving numbers into her own flesh. The coordinates of this exact location, this exact rescue, this exact moment when human stubbornness beat impossible odds. When she finished, there was a new scar among the old ones, red and raw and already beginning to clot. "You're completely insane," I said. "Probably," she agreed, wrapping a bandage around it. "But I'm also really good at not dying. And now, next time someone's trapped near a spatial rift by a collapsing star, I'll remember exactly how to get them out." "You think there's going to be a next time?" "With my luck, absolutely." We docked with the Quantum Fold an hour later. Medical teams rushed aboard to treat the unconscious crew and the radiation-sick captain. Everyone survived. 7 lives saved, because one human had memorized impossible physics and literally carved survival into her skin. Back at the station, there was the usual debriefing, reports to file, commendations to ignore. Maya sat through it all with patient boredom, occasionally checking her fresh bandage. Commander Velth concluded the meeting with an announcement. "Effective immediately, Maya Torres is appointed as the emergency response consultant for all high-risk rescue operations, with full authority to override standard protocols when situations require creative solutions." "Creative is a nice way of saying borderline suicidal," Maya commented. "Your methods are unorthodox," Velth agreed. "But they work, and in this line of work, results matter more than regulations." Later, I found Maya in the medical bay getting her arm properly treated. The doctor, a Thailand named Keeks, was scolding her about self-harm and proper wound care. "You could get infections doing this," Chicks complained. "I sterilized the tools first," Maya protested. "That's not the point." "What is the point, then?" "The point is, there are less painful ways to record information." Maya held up her newly scarred arm. "But none more reliable. This," she pointed to the fresh mark, "this saved 7 lives today, and it'll save more tomorrow. That's worth a little pain." Cheeks sighed and finished bandaging. "Humans!" "Yeah," Maya grinned. "We're the worst." I sat down next to her after Keeks left. "Question. Shoot. How many more times are you going to do this? How many more coordinates can one person carry?" Maya looked at her arms, both of them now visible with sleeves rolled up. Scars covered every inch of available skin. 19 coordinates. 19 impossible rescues. 19 times she'd turned pain into permanent memory. "As many as it takes," she said simply, "until I run out of skin or run out of luck. Whichever comes first." "And if you run out of skin?" She smiled. "Then I'll find more space. Legs, back, wherever. The human body has a lot of surface area, and space has a lot of ways to try killing us. It's a race to see which runs out first." "That's a terrible plan." "That's survival." She traced one of the older scars, faded but still readable. "Every species has their advantage. Yours has redundant organs and multiple brains. Others have armor or enhanced strength or telepathy. Us? We have adaptation. We learn. We remember. We mark ourselves with lessons and carry them forward. It's not pretty. It's not elegant. But it keeps us alive." Over the following weeks, Maya's reputation spread through the station and beyond. Ships requested her specifically for dangerous routes. Captains wanted her consultation on emergency procedures. She became something of a legend, the human navigator who carried the map to survival written on her own body. I watched her work, watched her teach, watched her occasionally add new scars when situations demanded it. Coordinate number 20 came after a reactor breach rescue. 21 after guiding a damaged freighter through an asteroid field during a solar storm. Each time, she used the heated tool. Each time, she stayed conscious through the pain. Each time, she turned trauma into knowledge, horror into data, survival into permanent record. One night, I asked her the question that had been bothering me since we met. Do you ever regret it? The scars, the pain, the constant reminders of almost dying? Maya looked at her arms for a long time. Every scar is a story where everyone lived, she finally said. Every mark is proof that we beat the odds. Yeah, they hurt. Yeah, they're not pretty. But they're also evidence that humans don't quit. We take the worst situations, learn from them, and literally carry those lessons forward, written in our own flesh. That's beautiful and horrifying at the same time. That's humanity, she said with a laugh. We're a contradiction, fragile but resilient, weak but unstoppable. We break easily, but we refuse to stay broken. And maybe that's our real strength. Not that we survive, but that we remember how we survived, and we make damn sure we never forget. 3 months after our first meeting, Maya was offered a position as head of navigation training for the entire sector. She accepted on the condition that she could still take field calls for emergencies. Can't teach survival from behind a desk, she explained. On her last day before starting the new job, we shared drinks at the Wayward Comet again. Her arms now carried 23 coordinates, 23 impossible situations solved through human stubbornness and self-inflicted memory aids. You know, I said, my species sees scars as marks of weakness, signs that you were damaged, but watching you, I've realized something. What's that? Your scars aren't marks of damage. They're marks of victory. Each one is a battle you won, a challenge you overcame. They're not signs of weakness. They're proof of strength. Maya smiled, that fierce human smile that I'd learned meant she was genuinely touched. Thanks, Crex. That actually means a lot. Will you ever stop adding coordinates? She shrugged. Probably not. As long as there are ships in danger and people who need help, I'll keep flying. And as long as I keep flying, I'll keep learning. And as long as I keep learning, I'll keep marking. Until you run out of skin. Until I run out of skin, she agreed. But I figure I've got a few more years before that happens. And who knows, maybe by then, someone will invent something better. Some new way to record survival data that doesn't involve self-mutilation. But you'll keep doing it anyway. Absolutely. Old habits die hard, and this old habit has saved a lot of lives. We clinked glasses. Her human whiskey against my Korathi battery acid. Two species that shouldn't get along, united by mutual respect and the shared experience of watching one stubborn woman turn pain into purpose. The bar's window overlooked the docking bays. Ships came and went, carrying people and cargo across the vast emptiness of space. Each one a potential disaster waiting to happen. Each one a story not yet written. And somewhere among them, inevitably, would be another impossible situation, another crisis that computers couldn't solve and protocols couldn't handle. And when that happened, Maya Torres would be there, calculator in one hand, cutting tool in the other, ready to add coordinate number 24 to her collection, ready to prove once again that humans might be fragile, but they're also impossible to kill. Because they don't just survive. They remember. They learn. They carry their lessons forward, written in scar tissue and determination. And sometimes, just sometimes, that makes all the difference.